Talking about midfielders, guys, I can confirm an information going around England was reported by Craig Hope about Newcastle, and it's about Arsenal interest in Bruno Guimarães. It's true that Arsenal made an approach for Bruno Guimarães. It was a direct approach on player side and club side with Newcastle, so Arsenal have reached out. For Bruno Guimarães, my understanding is that their intention was to try approach for a deal around £55 million for Bruno Guimarães, but Newcastle are not selling the player for this fee. Newcastle closed the doors to this approach from Arsenal. Now, we will see if Arsenal return, if there is anything moving. At the moment, Bruno Guimarães is leaving everything in the hands of Newcastle, is respecting Newcastle. So that's the status of the story, that's the situation, but for sure Arsenal tried to make an approach and to enter into the Bruno Guimarães story. But again, at the moment the intention at Newcastle is not to sell the player, not to advance on any sort of conversation to sell the player, and also not for £55 million. So at the moment it's been an attempt by Arsenal, an approach, but not developing at present. Anything changing, as always, we'll be here to keep you posted. Talking about then, guys.
Confirms. Checkmark Bruno Guimarães to Arsenal talks. Big twist. The £65 million bombshell explained. Arsenal have reportedly entered talks for Bruno Guimarães, and the latest claims suggest a major £65 million move could be on the table, along with a surprising twist that could reshape how Arsenal build their midfield in 2026. In this long, detailed news, we break down the rumors, the fit, what it means tactically, why the price matters, and how this deal could impact the rest of Arsenal's squad. The moment everyone heard, Fabrizio Romano confirms. Check mark, and the Bruno Guimarães Arsenal link. Whenever a transfer rumor drops with that kind of emphatic wording, football fans instantly switch from maybe mode to wait, this could actually happen mode. Bruno Guimarães is the kind of player who doesn't just fill a position. He changes the tempo of a team. He's energetic, ball progressive, combative without being reckless, and he brings an edge that works especially well in high-stakes matches where intensity decides everything. So when the chatter began that Bruno Guimarães to Arsenal talks were happening, supporters didn't just react, they leaned forward. And then came the boldest line of all, for £65 million. Big twist. That's the kind of figure that shifts a transfer story into a "this is serious" narrative. Arsenal have bought big before, but the midfield market is different. There are fewer truly complete midfielders, and those who can dominate in both phases usually come with a heavy price tag. So the question became immediate. Is this real? What would Arsenal gain tactically? Who could be affected inside the squad? And what's the twist? In this article, we're going to treat the rumor as if it's a possible blueprint. That means we'll explore likely motivations from both Arsenal and the players' side, the realistic pathways a move could take, and why a move like this would make sense, even if the big twist part turns the usual script upside down. Why Bruno Guimarães fits Arsenal's identity more than just a midfielder. Arsenal under the modern era of their football identity have repeatedly shown they want control, but not passive control. They want to dictate through clean passing angles, smart pressing triggers, strong transitions from defense to attack, midfielders who can survive under pressure and still play forward. Bruno Guimarães embodies many of those traits. Let's break it down in plain football language. He's built for the press. Arsenal's best periods often involve winning the ball in dangerous zones. Guimarães is the kind of player who can step into space to intercept, engage in duels effectively, recover quickly after pressing actions, keep the team compact when the press gets beaten. A player like that reduces the risk of losing shape. That matters because Arsenal's system relies on the idea that even when they lose the ball, the defensive response is close enough to matter. He can carry the ball and help you breathe. Arsenal's midfield doesn't just need defenders, it needs relief. Someone who can progress the ball when the opposition compresses space. Guimarães brings an ability to receive under pressure, turn to face forward when possible, drive through midfield gaps, make passes that break the line. That's why he isn't merely a defensive midfielder. He can function as a connector who helps Arsenal keep attacking momentum rather than resetting too often. He's the type of player who raises standards. A Premier League title race isn't won only with tactics. It's also one with mentality and consistency. Guimarães is known for intensity. Intensity is contagious. If Arsenal sign him, the claim shouldn't just be, "We're adding quality." It should be, greater than, "We're adding a standard." Quote, that standard tends to lift younger players, the whole tempo of the midfield. Decision-making under stress. The £65 million question, why that fee changes the whole story. Let's talk about money. A £65 million transfer isn't small. That isn't a depth signing. It's not a rotation option. It's a statement. Arsenal don't spend that unless they're convinced. Arsenal have become far more strategic in how they build their squad. They don't throw cash around blindly. If they're spending £65 million, they likely believe one or more of these is true. Bruno is a tactical match for their system. He's ready to be a leader. His ceiling aligns with Arsenal's ambitions. He can reduce uncertainty in big matches. The club sees him as central to the team's next cycle. The midfield market is a scarcity market. Good midfielders, especially ones who can do both defensive work and forward influence, are rare. They're often priced higher because top clubs need them. They solve multiple problems at once. They reduce team instability. So £65 million starts to look less like overpaying and more like pricing reality. The fee also determines the player's role. When a club pays a huge fee, expectations rise immediately. That means Arsenal signing Guimarães would likely come with a role assumption such as first-choice midfield starter, key transitional player, dominant presence against physical teams, pressing engine in away matches. If Arsenal were unsure, they might instead pursue a cheaper alternative. The rumored fee implies certainty. So what is the big twist? Every viral transfer story needs a twist. Sometimes it's a surprising competing club, a deal structure nobody expected, a change in the manager's priorities, a player swapping scenario, or a narrative shift. The move isn't just about talent, it's about timing and squad balance. In cases like this, the twist could realistically involve one or more of the following scenarios. Twist possibility 1. Arsenal are signing Guimarães, but not as a like-for-like replacement. A common mistake fans make is assuming Arsenal buy Bruno to simply replace someone. But the best clubs don't just replace, they reconfigure. If Arsenal sign Guimarães for £65 million, they may plan to shift roles rather than swap names. Adjust how the midfield triangle functions. Use Guimarães to free another player to attack more. In other words, the twist might be, Arsenal aren't buying him to do one job. They're buying him to enable a whole system. Twist possibility 2. Arsenal's existing midfield rotation gets scrapped. Big signings force smaller ones off the board, directly or indirectly. If Arsenal bring in Guimarães, it could mean less playing time for fringe midfielders, more pressure on players competing for minutes, a different tactical plan for certain matchups. So the twist could be that the deal changes not just Arsenal's 11, but also their entire midfield depth strategy. Twist possibility 3. The deal isn't straight cash. £65 million might be the headline number, but the twist could be how it's structured. Large add-ons, performance bonuses tied to appearances and trophies, sell-on clauses, conditional payments. Sometimes headlines ignore the real economics. So the twist might be that Arsenal have negotiated something clever behind the scenes to justify the total figure. Twist possibility 4. Guimarães could be a leadership move, not only a talent move. Arsenal are in a cycle of growth and expectation. Signing a midfielder like Bruno could be Arsenal's way of ensuring leadership in elite moments, stabilizing the squad mentally, improving maturity under pressure. The twist could be that Arsenal want him as an internal spine for the team. Arsenal's tactical blueprint, how Guimarães would likely be used. Let's get tactical. If Bruno Guimarães joins Arsenal, his usage would likely reflect a mix of his strengths and Arsenal's system, the defensive half role. Guimarães could operate as a ball winner who begins attacks by gaining possession, a protector in transitions, a stabilizer when the fullbacks push high, the progressive connector. Arsenal often want to move the ball from the regain phase into the create phase quickly. Guimarães would likely be tasked with receiving and carrying into space, drawing pressure and then playing the safer or more direct pass. Switching play when opportunities open the pressing engine. Even when Arsenal don't win the ball cleanly, they rely on pressure to force poor touches and bad decisions. Guimaraes' energy and willingness to engage could become a key component of Arsenal's pressing framework, especially in matches where opponents attempt to play through central channels, who would lose minutes. The squad impact nobody can avoid. A transfer like this inevitably creates ripples. Even if Arsenal don't announce it publicly, internal competition shapes everything. If Arsenal sign Guimaraes as a £65 million level starter, then the natural questions are: which midfielder role becomes locked? Who becomes rotation depth? Who is shifted to a different position? Who gets used less in certain systems? This matters because Arsenal's midfield is not just about talent. It's about match rhythm, confidence, tactical familiarity, chemistry. A likely outcome. The likely outcome of a high-fee midfield signing is fewer minutes for the player who was previously the first choice in that exact role. More minutes for Guimaraes. Different matchday roles for other midfielders. Fans sometimes underestimate how quickly roles can change once a new centerpiece arrives, what Guimaraes would mean in big matches. Arsenal's season isn't only about building good momentum in smaller games. It's about surviving the moments when the match turns chaotic, the other team gets momentum, pressure increases, mistakes cost goals. Guimaraes brings a resistance identity. He doesn't hide. He wants the ball. He competes hard. He helps the team handle physicality. That kind of profile is crucial in title clashes, derby-style intensity, away matches where momentum flips quickly. If Arsenal want to become more consistent in the hardest games, a player like Bruno helps. The £65 million risk. What could go wrong? Every big signing has risks. This article would be incomplete if we only praised the deal. Here are realistic concerns if Arsenal invest £65 million in Guimaraes. Tactical adjustment takes time. Even a top midfielder may need time to adapt to Arsenal's exact pressing triggers, the timing of transitions, how defenders step up behind him, the relationship with the fullbacks, squad chemistry. Midfield chemistry isn't instant. Arsenal might need a few matches to find the optimal combination. Rotation and physical load. High-intensity midfielders can accumulate fatigue. If Arsenal demand constant pressing, Guimaraes' workload could be significant. Pressure of the fee. When you pay £65 million, fans judge you harder. If he starts slowly or doesn't fit a certain narrative, criticism can become loud quickly. But the flip side is, if Arsenal are buying him for a system reason, those risks can be managed. Why this rumor keeps growing: the Arsenal need for control and edge. So why are people talking about this so loudly? Because Arsenal have been chasing a specific midfield balance. Enough control to dominate. Enough bite to win duels. Enough forward quality to keep opponents under pressure. Enough resilience to withstand counters. Guimaraes is the archetype of a player who checks those boxes. And when multiple factors align, club ambition, tactical needs, player profile, and market feasibility, rumors evolve quickly from noise into momentum. The confirm language, how transfer rumors usually develop. Online, people often use that style to make it feel final. But in reality, transfer confirmations are usually official only when one of these happens. A club statement, a player statement, reliable national media confirmation, official announcement with contract details. Until then, these stories remain talks and advanced negotiations. Quote, so if we treat this story responsibly, we can interpret the confirms check mark framing as attention-grabbing rumor style, indication that there may be truth behind it, possible advanced stages, but not absolute final confirmation unless officially announced. That's why this article uses talks framing. Arsenal may be close, but the real confirmation must be official. What Arsenal gain beyond football, branding, leadership, and European credibility. A major signing doesn't only improve your 11. It changes how the club is perceived, signals ambition. When you pay £65 million for a proven midfielder, you tell rivals you're serious, recruits you're building now, fans you're not settling leadership presence. Even if Bruno isn't a captain in name, midfield leaders influence tempo, decision-making, emotional control. That can matter in Europe and domestic big games, increased competitive edge. A player like Guimarães strengthens the midfield battles you need to win to progress in cup runs and Champions League levels. The most important part, the deal timeline Arsenal would likely follow. Even if Arsenal are interested today, deals often follow a sequence like initial contact, player interest gauged, club-to-club talks, fee agreement, personal terms discussion, medical and contract finalization, official confirmation. So, talks could mean Arsenal are already at stage 3 or 4. But official confirmation is usually closer to stage 5+. That's why fans should keep expectations balanced. The story can be real and still not final, yet, if it happens, how Arsenal's midfield would look in a perfect world. With Guimarães integrated properly, Arsenal could achieve improved midfield physicality, better pressing resistance, faster progression from defense to attack, more consistent possession in the middle zones, a stronger identity against top opponents. The midfield wouldn't just be solid, it would be a weapon. And with Arsenal's attacking talent around him, Bruno's presence could raise goal threat indirectly by forcing turnovers closer to the final third, creating quicker passing sequences, winning the second ball more often. The fan reaction, why this excites Arsenal supporters immediately. Even before official details, Arsenal fans have reasons to be excited. Bruno is aggressive and competitive. He can dominate midfield clashes. He likely raises the standard of every training session. He fits the emotional demand of big games. Fans love signings that feel like they improve both football and attitude. Guimarães often checks both boxes. Final verdict, is the £65 million move likely to transform Arsenal, or just add pressure? If Arsenal truly enter serious talks for Bruno Guimarães at around £65 million, the move would likely be transformative if Arsenal build around his strengths instead of trying to force him into a role that doesn't suit him. The potential big twist matters because Arsenal's best transfers aren't just about the player coming in. They're about the system being reworked so the team becomes harder to beat and easier to trust. The bottom line, if the deal is real and confirmed, Arsenal would gain a midfield spine with intensity and progressive control. If it's structured and integrated well, Bruno could become the kind of signing that defines a season. If not, the fee and expectations could create pressure and rotation tension.